Some more review questions with a focus on parallelograms. Here's some parallelogram properties to remind you of what's going on. The opposite sides of a parallelogram are parallel. The opposite sides are also congruent. The opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. Diagonals bisect each other, and any two consecutive angles, like in a row, that's what consecutive means, they're always going to be supplementary. Now, these apply to all parallelograms, including squares, including rhombus, rectangle. They're all specific types of parallelograms. And that's all based off of everything we learned with two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So here is the first question. Give it a shot. Okay, so diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So these two pieces, the x plus 40 and the 2x plus 19, are equal. Always start with the smaller number of x's. Subtracting it, I get x plus 19 is 40. Subtracting 19 and I get x is 21. So that's the first thing I was asked to find. Next up was to find HO. HO is the distance from H to the middle at O, and that would be x plus 40, which is 21 plus 40, which is 61. And then HJ, and there's a few ways to find HJ. One way is to say, look, well, that's the midpoint because the diagonals bisect each other. So I could just double 61, or I could say, well, wait a minute, the other part is 2 times 21 plus 19, which is 61, and then double the 61 and get 122, whichever way you prefer. Okay, a little reminder about opposite sides and consecutive sides in parallelograms. Go ahead. Opposite sides are opposite angles, are congruent, so they're 123. And consecutive, I should have changed that. I haven't changed it in like 3 slides. Consecutive adds up to 180, and 123 from 180 leaves 57, or 57 and 123 add up to 180. You can do consecutive here, or you can do that x is opposite z, and that's also 57. And again, the importance of two parallel lines cut by a transversal. That's why the 57 and the 123 have to be supplementary. And if I also put them on the other side, then I would see that I'm just dealing with two obtuse angles. They all have to be the same, and the acutes have to be the same. Go ahead. So here's the consecutive angles, and they have to add up to 180 degrees. So 1x and 2x make 180. 3x is 180, dividing by 3x is 60. Pretty straightforward. Okay, give this one a shot. Okay, Mark says AC is 10. Do you agree with him? Yes or no? Why or why not? Well, I definitely do not agree, because the diagonals bisect each other, which means AE and EC have to be congruent to each other. So if AE is 7, then EC is 7, and if you add them up, you get 14. That's not the 10. Mark is wrong. Okay, it's a rhombus. Remember what you need to know about the consecutive sides of a rhombus? Go ahead. Okay, consecutive sides of a rhombus are congruent. So therefore, 5y minus 9 will equal 2y plus 3. Subtracting 2y from both sides, I get 3y minus 9 is 3. Adding the 9, 3y is 12. Dividing, and I get y is equal to 4. Okay, but it wants me to find AB. AB is directly opposite CD, so for any parallelogram that would be true, or all 4 sides of a rhombus are the same. So 5 times 4 is 20, minus 9 is 11, or I could just say 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. Either way. Next up. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky here. You got to pay attention to which angle's which. Angle A to B to C, that's the whole big angle on the upper left there. And D to B to C is half of that angle. I know it's exactly half because the diagonals of a rhombus bisect each other. So I've got to double DBC to get equal to ABC. So I'm going to double angle DBC to get ABC. So double the 3x minus 3 to get the 4x minus 4. Now just solve the equation. 6x minus 6, distributing that 2, is equal to 4x minus 4. Subtracting the 4x, 2x minus 6 is negative 4. Adding 6 to both sides, and I get 2x is 2. Therefore, when I divide by 2, x is 1. That's all it wants me to find, x, so I'm done. Remember these parallelogram properties, they are critical. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are parallel. Opposite sides are also congruent. Opposite angles are congruent. The diagonals bisect each other, and consecutive angles of a parallelogram are supplementary, all stemming from two parallel lines cut by a transversal and applying it when I put one more parallel line in there for the opposite side of the parallelogram. All right, very important stuff. Hope you got it down pat. You will have questions like that on future quizzes and tests.